Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Thursday. Thank you so much for coming in to watch this video. We have a lot to talk about today. We got Marathon providing us with some new stuff that they're doing. Some people are against it. Some people are for it. We'll take a look at it. We have DMG also providing our Q1 2024 results. We'll get into those. They are also doing something interesting as well with another kind of a side business type of deal. We'll take a look at that as well. Excuse me. Then we have Riot also providing their end of year fiscal 2023 results. We'll kind of go over it really quick on that. We don't have all the numbers yet. That hasn't been updated to the SEC website yet. That's what I'm waiting for. And then we'll also take a look at Hive buying more miners, getting more efficient, which is great to hear as well. So we have a lot to go over. We'll do the chapters down below for you guys as always. And as always, you know this drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. I'm investing in following coins and companies for full disclosure. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously, especially hitting the like button. And then any corrections that are going to be made, I will post those on Discord, which are part of the Patreon group, and then on YouTube community posts, and on Twitter, obviously, so I can get the information out to you guys if we do have any mistakes. We try not to make mistakes, but I'm only human. I will make mistakes from time to time. Okay, so let's take a look at Bitcoin here really quick, what's going on with it, and along with the miners here. What's kind of interesting day to day. Bitcoin was actually down today, and for whatever reason, like over half of the miners were up today, and some of them were up quite nicely here. So Bitcoin finished out the day today at 51,258. It was down 1.14%. It's up a little bit here now in the new day, just slightly. It's up 0.12% at 51,316. We're still kind of above our maybe support resistance line here that we've set in the past here. We do have a little bit more support here, right around the 51,900 mark or so, somewhere around there. So we'll see how Bitcoin does going into tomorrow, obviously. But the miners here had a pretty good day, some especially more than others. But you can see here that Annie was up 10.63%. Really nothing new there, no news or nothing to drive it up. So that was kind of interesting there. Argo was up 5.5. Bit Digital was up 1.1. BitDeer was up 1%. Bitfarms was up 1.2%. Cypher up 3.6. CleanSpark up 10.5%. They actually, based on the numbers that I have for them, looks like they overtook Riot as far as the market cap is concerned. So they're now in number 2 spot after Marathon. Excuse me. So that was interesting to see as well. It happened today. And then we got a couple that were down here a little bit. DMG was up 1.4%. Hive was up just 0.75% roughly. Then Hut was down. Iris was down as well a little bit. Marathon was up 7.2%. Mawson was down 6%. Riot was up only 4%. Stronghold was down 3%. And Wolf was down 1.8%. So mixed day, like I said, on the miners. Kind of interesting. And I think maybe some of these guys that were up today, maybe that was driven by NVIDIA posting really good results. And that kind of maybe had an impact on some of the tech sector, the miners and things like that. So kind of interesting there. Okay, well, let's get into the stories that we do have here. And we'll provide you guys with as much information as we can here. Excuse me. So Marathon Digital Holdings launches Slipstream. Kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Kind of appropriate name for the service that they're launching, Slipstream. We'll get into here possibly why. But here's what they provided us with. So Marathon has launched Slipstream, a direct Bitcoin transaction submission service designed to streamline confirmations of large or non-standard Bitcoin transactions. There's a reason why those aren't getting through. It's because they're, the size of the transaction is too large for the Bitcoin network, basically, or non-standard Bitcoin transactions for whatever those might be. But they're kind of trying to slip it through like a back door, basically, and not go through the proper channels like everybody else is going here. Okay, so I'll give you guys my thoughts on this here in a second. But here's the details of it. So by default, Bitcoin nodes frequently exclude large or non-standard transactions from Bitcoin's mempool, even if these transactions adhere to the Bitcoin's network consensus rules. As a result, complex Bitcoin transactions are often delayed or unprocessed. And when you think about large or complex Bitcoin transactions, I mean, what do you usually think of? You would think of things like ordinals, right? Which those kind of fit into it. They're still under that certain size limit there for a transaction. And then if you want to get bigger than that, larger files, for pictures, for maybe small movies, for MP3s, things like that. That's kind of what this would be encompassing it, more or less, it seems like to me, which is kind of the opposite of what the Bitcoin network was created for by Satoshi. We'll get into that here in a second here as well, because I kind of looked over the white paper again on Bitcoin a little bit. It's like, this doesn't, go well with that. But continuing on here, provided these transactions adhere to the Bitcoin protocol and the fees associated with them are sufficient, Marathon will add these transactions to its mempool and process them accordingly. So is Marathon going to be the one that's going to be dictating what those fees are, right? So if you have, normally you have a bunch of transactions in a block. If you want to keep it, I believe it's at 4 megabytes. If you're going to be putting in something that's large, like an MP3 in there or something like that, or a small, video file or something like that, you're basically going to be using up all that 4 megabytes relatively quickly there. And is somebody going to pay the fees that are associated with that? If you look at the other fees that are being processed by each block, like at maybe 0.25 Bitcoins or 0.5 Bitcoins, or sometimes we've been getting 1 Bitcoin even added into the fees. Is somebody going to pay the $50,000 to include something like that? I don't know if that's going to be the case. I sure as heck wouldn't. But somebody that has a lot of money possibly might do that just for the giggles of it. But this is definitely not adhering to what the Bitcoin network was created for, Bitcoin in general was created for. And we'll get into that here shortly. But continuing on, Marathon is the first Bitcoin mining company to offer a direct transaction submission service because it is the only publicly traded Bitcoin mining company that operates its own mining pool. Marathon is also the only known publicly traded Bitcoin miner currently capable of offering such services. There are other people that offer the services that they even actually pointed out down here. So while direct transaction submission services exist, right? So it's kind of like, why put that up there if you're going to say it over here? Most are rudimentary. Slipstream provides sophisticated users with a simple, transparent, and trusted means of adding complex Bitcoin transactions to the blockchain, provided they adhere to the Bitcoin's protocol. Okay, so that's all of it. And here's the website for it. It's slipstream.mara.com. If you go there now, it's still basically saying that's come back at a later date. I think it's going to go live next week sometime. We'll take a look at it when it does at that point. But right now, it's just saying Slipstream is adding more RAM to mempool. Check back later. So that's kind of interesting that they are working on it. And if we look at some of the comments that we had from the Twitter side of things, the first comment here, which so I don't know if it's the first one or it's the most retweeted or possibly viewed, but it's from Luke Jr., I believe that is. And he says, why is Marathon attacking Bitcoin? Do your investors approve this? And I looked to see who he was, and he's actually a Bitcoin core developer. So he's one of the guys that's developing the core protocols, the software that Bitcoin runs on, obviously, right? So obviously he has a lot of knowledge about this. So that's obviously not good, right? If you have the core developers of Bitcoin kind of bashing you a little bit here, that's not a good sign. Going down here, we also have some others also stating some things here. If we look at this one from Mechanic the Fixer Fillers, hashtag, all you're doing is making it harder to run nodes for a pittance and extra cash. Anyone who cares about the long-term viability of this project views this as short-sighted at best, or simply an outright attack. The transactions you're soliciting didn't make it through the P2P layer for a very good reason, P2P, peer-to-peer. This is your second time attempting to undermine Bitcoin's fundamentals, the first being nonsense OFAC compliance. So interesting there. I wasn't aware that they were doing something in the past along with the OFAC compliance. I guess I'll have to look at what that is. If you guys know what that is, hit me up in the comments down below. But otherwise, we've had some people that are for it, some are against it. But the main thing I look at is the developers' side of things for Bitcoin. And if they're against it, that's probably not usually a good sign that you're doing the right things towards Bitcoin potentially. And then if we look at also the Bitcoin white paper here, right, here's the abstract of it. And we'll just kind of read this here really quick here. Abstract, a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. This basically sums it all up, right? We're talking about transactions, cash transactions. We're not talking about ordinals, pictures, whatever else you want to put on there. That's not what the Bitcoin network was intended for. It was intended as a means of transacting with other people. So digital signatures provide part of the solution, but the main benefits are lost if a trusted third party is still required to prevent double spending. We propose a solution to the double spending problem using a peer-to-peer network. The network timestamps transactions by hashing them into an ongoing chain of hash-based proof of work, forming a record that cannot be changed without redoing the proof of work. The longest chain not only serves as a proof of the sequence of events witnessed, but proof that it came from the largest pool of CPU power. As long as the majority of CPU power is controlled by nodes that are not cooperating to attack the network, they'll generate the longest chain and outpace attackers. The network itself requires minimal structure. Messages are broadcast on a best effort basis, and nodes can leave and rejoin the network at will, accepting the longest proof of work chain as proof of what happened while they were gone, right? That's it. This is what Satoshi Nakamoto's vision was for Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer payment system. And it seems like we are kind of diverging from that a little bit. At least some people are, or at least putting crap on the network that shouldn't be there. So if you're like a maximalist or a minimalist, whatever you want to call it, for Bitcoin, the way it's intended, some things are not being added to it the way they should be. But there is obviously the other flip side to this, where we're seeing obviously the miners get tremendous benefit from the transaction fees, right? Because of the ordinals and things like that. So there's pluses to it and minuses as well. With us being Bitcoin miner investors, we obviously like the fact that we're getting the transaction fees on there. But if we look at Bitcoin in general, the way it was designed to operate, it's not for those purposes. There are other, in my opinion, projects, and you could take a look at Ethereum for like smart contracts and ETFs, or what? Not ETFs, no. What were those things? EFTs, right? Electronic funded tokens, yeah, EFTs. And you get other coins that do other things, other projects as well, that do file storage and things like that. So those should be kept on those, I think. Bitcoin, I think, also should be just mainly peer-to-peer transactions based on payments. That's just my thought. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Okay. That's it for that one for Marathon. We'll see how that plays out. If there's a lot of backlash to this or not, we'll see. And then let's get into Riot here. So Riot provided their Q4 fiscal year end of 2023 numbers. We're not going to get through this today. I wanted to go over it once I have all the numbers from once they release them to the SEC, and I'll pull all the numbers into my spreadsheets. We'll go over it then. But the interesting here that I found was obviously that they're including potentially here, I'm trying to figure out if this is the case here, but they're referencing the FASB issued ASU 2023-08 rule that, here it is, reported non-GAAP adjusted EBITDA of $214 million in 2023, which included a $184.7 million gain on Bitcoin held on the balance sheet in December 2023. The FASB issued obviously this rule under which Riot recognizes its Bitcoin held at fair value, which changes the fair value recognized in income. Riot elected to early adopt this guidance in 2023. So I was a little bit surprised by this. My understanding of the rule here, which is right here, and it says, when will the amendments be effective and what are the transition requirements? So here's what it states. The amendments in this update are effective for all entities for fiscal years beginning after December 15, 2024. So that's why I'm saying fiscal year after 2024, beginning after December 15, 2024, including interim periods within those fiscal years. Early adoption is permitted for both interim and annual financial statements that have not yet been issued or made available for issuance. If an entity adopts the amendments in the interim period, it must adopt them as of the beginning of the fiscal year that includes the interim period. So that's why I was thinking that this would not be possible until, for some of these guys that start their fiscal year on beginning of January, but maybe I was wrong on that. Maybe my interpretation of this was incorrect. So we'll have to see. So I want to see obviously the numbers that they provide us with, because we've seen CleanSpark obviously take advantage of it, because my understanding was that they were starting to report fiscal year 2024 numbers with Q1 results that ended in December. We also saw DMG the same thing. We saw Hive not include that in there, which was maybe because they're Canadian based, maybe they can't take advantage of it. But that's kind of the way I'm looking at it here. So we'll have to find out more exactly what's going on here. Companies can actually take advantage of it or not, especially if they're still reporting 2023 numbers, which you have 3 quarters of results without having that those I guess you could say laws or allowed GAAP rules. Okay, so just kind of wanted to point that out. And tomorrow we'll get into Riot as far as what they actually had for the quarter Q4 and then for the fiscal year of 2024 or 2023 as well. Okay, so that's it on that one. Let me take a sip of water because my throat's starting to get dry. Okay, sorry about that. Let's get into Hive here. So Hive announced its purchase of 1,000 new energy-efficient Bitmain S21 Ant miners for immediate delivery in HODL increased to 2,070 Bitcoin right now. So that's pretty good there. And here's what we have here. So Hive is pleased to announce the purchase of 1,000 Bitmain S21 ANT miners, which would provide 200 petahash per second of high efficiency Bitcoin mining capacity. Additionally, Hive has now has 2,070 Bitcoin on the balance sheet as of February 21st, 2024. And then Hive is continuing its strategic preparation for the Bitcoin halving event, expected to occur in late April 2024, rather than expanding our footprint at this time. So basically building out infrastructure, facilities, things like that. We are upgrading our fleet with the most efficient machines available, which in turn will lower our average cost to produce Bitcoin at that time. And then upgrading our existing ASICs in our inventory to the S21s will increase our target exahash from 5.3 exahash at 24.7 joules by the end of June 2024 to 5.5 exahash by running only our most efficient machines in our 140 megawatts of operating infrastructure globally. Okay, so it sounds like they're getting rid of some of the older machines here. And based on that, if we look at their numbers here that I have for them, we'll have to do some updates here, it looks like. But here's what we have here. You guys know all this. We've covered this before. But going down here to the machines that we have here, they did have a bunch of these 100 terahash miners, these 98 terahash miners. Then obviously the 90 terahash, I kind of figured those were already gone. But if we included all of those, the 100 and the 98 here, that I thought they might be running, I was getting them to like 6 point something exahash at that point. If we look at just the numbers here that we add, it looks like, what is that in actual? Yeah, about 6.5 exahash, 6.6 exahash, something like that. That's kind of where I was thinking they were getting to. But based on what they reported here, I got them to 5.58 roughly. And that's based on using the latest generation miners that they have here, along with getting rid of some of these older ones here. Obviously the 98s, the 96 terahash miners here, and these 90s, these 98s, and 100s. So it looks like those might be going bye-bye. They might be selling them, they might be getting rid of them, or whatever they're going to be doing with them. And they're going to be getting to 5.5 exahash. So that's actually a decrease in the amount of hash rate that I thought they were going to get to on it. And then going forward here, we'll have to probably adjust these numbers here to get rid of these and add some more of these newer machines here that they are getting in to compensate for some of the losses that we had here in petahash, exahash, and things like that. So that will actually make them pretty efficient here. They'll be down to about 23.51 based on my numbers here. My numbers are based on what I could gather from the manufacturers of these machines and from third-party sites that have the machines listed in as far as what their wattage is. So that's kind of based on that. They're saying that they're going to get to 24.7, right? So they're pretty close. 24.7, I got them 23.5. If they get rid of the ones that I think they're getting rid of, maybe we'll get down to that 23.5, maybe 23 point something, but at least we're pretty close. Okay, so that's actually really good news there for them. That will definitely make them a lot more efficient going forward here. So we'll get this updated the next time they report their numbers for February, and we'll get rid of some of these older miners here and see if we can get some of these newer miners plugged in and mining for them. All right, so that's it for Hive here. Let's get into DMG here really quick. Let's see here. Yep. So the first one is DMG Blockchain Solution announces investment in digital asset custody solution. This is actually, I think, pretty good for them. So DMG announced it has committed 3.5 million Canadian to establish a Calgary, Alberta-based independent digital asset custody solution for institutional clients. The capital commitment is part of DMG's Core Plus strategy and its mission to advance broader digital asset adoption by building credibility and trust in cryptocurrency and digital assets for investors. DMG will bring together secure institutional wallet solutions, strong insurance policies, rigorous risk management practices, best-in-class off-exchange liquidity, as well as innovative OFAC-compliant and carbon-neutral blockchain solutions to meet institutional demand. So there's that word again. I got to look that up, or that acronym. The capital commitment for the digital asset custody solution will be made over time as required to support the regulatory review process, right? So that's actually pretty good. So they're going to be kind of diversifying their business line here. And then Systematic Trust Company is a wholly owned subsidiary of DMG, which, subject to regulatory approval, will provide regulated custody of digital assets to institutional clients, such as financial institutions, asset managers, corporations, and public sector organizations seeking to manage digital assets. So think of it kind of like Coinbase a little bit, I guess, in some sense. Who else would that be? Possibly like Galaxy Digital, maybe, something like that. So definitely kind of interesting take on this, how they're going to be doing that, along with their self-mining and things like that. They're obviously a small miner, but doing these kind of things, it's kind of cool. But we'll see how this all plays out and how they can actually make money on it. But that's kind of it. And then you got obviously the systemic trust directors include, and you get the whole list up here. And that's basically it on that one. Okay. And then finally, DMG obviously provided their numbers yesterday for their fiscal year, Q1 2024 numbers. And they actually had a positive share per share here income of 4 cents. We'll get into some of the numbers here. I don't think there's anything else in here we really need to go over, but we'll get into their numbers here on my spreadsheet. But this is obviously pretty good. And they also took advantage of the FASB rule for the way that accounting goes for Bitcoin. And let's see, here's DMG right now. So DMG right now, last reported was 168 million shares roughly. Their current market cap is about 74 million, stock price 44 cents. They've had an okay run here over the last 12 weeks, 60% up from that. 8 weeks, they're up 9.2%. 24 weeks, they're up 24%. Last week, they were up 7.5%. The production here has been kind of up and down here over the last year. You can see that. They do have a hodl a little bit here of 468 BTC. And then that's valued at about 22 million on that one. Based on those numbers, their hash rate has been kind of stuck here, 1.2, revenue kind of all over the place. And then here are the last 4 quarters results. So they had Q1 was 7.25 million, it looks like. Current quarter, we have them at about 8.7, so that's a nice increase there. Last 4 quarters operating costs minus depreciation has gone up a little bit here to 4.8 from 3.94. That's still not bad. Cost of 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation has been going up, and that's regularly what we're seeing as the network hash rate increases, right? It's costing more for the miners to generate a Bitcoin. Bitcoin mined quarterly has actually improved here for them to 196 from the prior quarter of 144. So that's good there. Excuse me. And then debt to equity, lower is better. That is going to come up a little bit here over the last couple of quarters. But the current ratio is still really good there, so really no concerns there, really. Total current assets, we're looking at 26.13 million, and then total current liabilities of 4.6 million right now. So a healthy balance sheet going into having an event. I see absolutely no problems with them at that point. Now, looking at their balance sheet here, as far as what they reported here, their total current assets increased to 35 million from 25 million, so that's great to see. Total assets also increased to 90 million from 82 million, so that's good there. Total current liabilities increased a little bit here to 6.2 million Canadian from 5.5, so that's not bad. Total liabilities increased to 6.3 million from 5.6, so that's not bad. And then total liabilities and stockholder equity actually increased to 90 million from 82 in Canadian dollars there. Okay, now as far as revenues are concerned, revenues increased to, let's see, self-mining went up to 9.7 million Canadian dollars. That's a nice increase from the 5.4 million we saw in Q4. What else do we have here? Mining equipment hosting and setup services, that actually went down to 372,000 from 671. Net pool revenue was actually down. They had a loss on it, 1 million here. That's interesting. They actually lost on that one, yeah. That's pretty interesting that one was down. They didn't have anything for forensic, mining pool fees, other. They had 562,000 in other. And then, let's see what else here. Sorry, that was software license income. That was 562,000. Other was only 11,000. And then, so obviously, self-mining in USD was 7.25. I had them at, what was it for self-mining? 7.18. So I was off by 0.75%. 0.75% off on it. Not too bad. That's kind of nice. Okay, so that's the revenue side of things. As far as when we look at operational costs, we can see here that operation maintenance cost was 982,000, which is a nice decrease from the 1.2 million that they had here. Sorry, that's calculating something else. 5.1 million here. So that's actually an increase in operational costs from the 3.6 million that they had here in Q4. Stock-based compensation was down to 886,000 compared to the 1.2 that they had in Q4. Research and development up a little bit here to 368,000 from 321. And then provisions, stock-based compensation. Sorry, I'm getting confused here on the numbers here. Research and development was 539 in Q4, 438 in Q1, so that's good there. Provisions for doubtful accounts, that was way down here to 380,000 only from 263,000, so that's good. And then depreciation was down a little bit to 4.3 million from 4.6. So total expenses actually was at 11.1 million compared to 10.5. So that's up a little bit here as well. Okay. Gross profit margin came in at 56% here for them minus depreciation. Before Q4 was 14.46. So that's obviously a good improvement there. And let's see here. Where did they stick in the FASB rule? Thought they stuck it in. It might be over here. Let me see here. Is it in here? Yep, it's in here. I believe it's in here. Let's see, is it that one? Loss of fear? Nope. Okay. Miscellaneous revenue. I should have done this. Unrealized revaluation loss of digital currencies. I think this is at 8.16 million here, potentially. And then, let's see here. So net income loss was actually a gain here of 6.9 million Canadian. Total comprehensive income was 6.98, which is fine. That's high. They got the obviously 4 cents per share Canadian for basic and diluted as well. And then obviously this is what we have as far as the shares. So overall, it's pretty good. Okay, going up here to some of the measures that we look at, it looks like their cost to mine Bitcoin here was 19.4 thousand for the quarter. And then price to book ratio or book value of equity assets was 62 million. The price to book ratio was 1.183. Enterprise value was 67 million. EBITDA, net profit, that was 8.2. EV versus EBITDA was 8.27. Okay. And then when we look at their general and administrative compensation here, that was only about 1.25 million. Revenue was 9.6. That's only 12%, almost 13% of that. So that's really good. That's below the 20% that I'd like to see companies be at. And overall, pretty good. Not too much as far as bad news here for them. The only thing is they're obviously a small miner, not growing that much. See here. We have them at getting to about 2 exahash if they can get these all installed here. And that's only growth of about what, 8 petahash? Not 8 petahash. Gosh. 800 petahash, I believe, from where they are right now. Currently, they're at 1.2. Yeah, they're getting to 2 exahash, so that's about 800 to 900 petahash worth of growth. Still not bad going to the halving event. Healthy balance sheet as they do have it, so that's not too bad there. So I don't see a problem with them where they are. And then based on where I think they should be between 53 cents and maybe 79 cents. With a P of 7 or a PS of 7, depending how you look at it. But yeah, so they're one of the smaller ones that I think is going to survive here. I think some of the other ones may have a harder time getting through the halving event, depending where Bitcoin goes, obviously. All right, but that's it. A lot of news here, obviously, today. A lot of stuff going on. Let me know what you guys think of all this stuff. And then, as always, Patreon members get access to all these spreadsheets. That's still $8 a month if you want access to all this stuff. You get obviously all the data that I track, and then you get access to the Discord server as well, which is private for us. We have a bunch of great communication there and a lot of dialogue and a lot of back and forth on some topics, and also a lot of good advice. And sometimes we get bad advice in there as well. But we go through it all. Okay, so that is it. Let me know what you guys thought of it all. Obviously, leave comments down below. Hit the like button, helps out tremendously. And then if we'll see what happens tomorrow, obviously. I got to do some more research into that SFAC. What was it, right? Where was it? On this one, I got to find out what's going on with this because that was obviously something that was managed. OFAC. What is that OFAC compliant? I got to look into this one. That's something I'll do tonight because that's piqued my curiosity right now. Okay, but that's it. Thank you again so much for coming in to watch this. I greatly appreciate you guys doing so. Please hit the like button. It helps me out tremendously. That's all I ask from you guys. But yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Also, tomorrow, we're doing actually at noon, a Twitter space with the Bitcoin mining guy, Bitcoin mining stock guy, and then also one of the guys. I'm not hosting it. I'm just kind of joining it. Maybe I'll take part in it as well. But there's another person that from Galaxy Digital, I think, is actually hosting it. Okay. So that's happening tomorrow at noon Central Time. But that's it. Again, thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, have a wonderful night or a good morning, depending where you are. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.